Greetings to the people at Reedsy.com, the writers community as a whole, and also Martin, who was kind enough to host the event, and Tom Bromley, who was acting as the live editor for the last session. I think it was number 6. I happened to be the fourth person that you did a live editing session on, so I just wanted to thank you again. This video is oddly more for the people that happened to be in the chat that day, because there was a ton of great feedback on that side, as well as a bunch of incredible editing notes. So I did write some stuff down. I just wanted to make a response video, which I don't believe that ever happens. So who knows? Maybe this will go completely ignored. If you guys want, they did upload the live editing session. There should be links on the website and tons of great stuff. I recommend going through every single one of those videos. Even if your work wasn't chosen. I was very fortunate this time, but I've been present for all the other ones. And there's, again, like I said, great information. So I won't specifically go over everything that Tom was discussing, because you can always catch the replay on that one. But it was really interesting to see the chat room or the side comments that were going on as the live editing session was taking place. Because there was a lot of, I guess, people that you would say are bound by the rules of writing. They're very much sticklers for format, for structure, for all the genre specifics, if you will. And the biggest thing that spurred a weird debate was prologues and how they just should, I don't know, never be used. It seemed like 90% or plus of the people in that room were completely opposed to prologues. General comments kind of sided with a prologues only if an author doesn't know how to write the first chapter or doesn't have a strong enough introduction. There was just like silly comments that just didn't ever seem to like shy away from those fast rules. Like, oh, prologues are just generally not accepted. Okay, well, what about the times that they are completely effective? They set up the scene very well. Maybe you don't even have an introduction that fits in the chapter as a whole, but possibly you have a strong 1, 2, 3 page introduction that connects maybe very well with an ending or even an epilogue. I just thought the few comments that I would agree with were the people that are like, well, you got to know the rules in order to break them. I was I was kind of like laughing in the chats, just like how opposed everyone was to the prologue thing. And then it was odd because it didn't capture like the titles for my submission. What I had submitted was a prologue. I'm sure it reads like an opening chapter very well, but we only were able to do 500 words. And I honestly, I only uploaded 480 words because right after the cutoff, if you were there, it was my work is a crime thriller. It's known as Inkwell. And right at that 480th word, I had to stop because I didn't have enough space to like capture the next event that happened. Like you would have one tiny sentence, maybe two, and then everything was about to kick off from there. It seemed like Tom was excited to continue reading because I did have a great stop moment where my character just bribed everyone and we were waiting for that answer. So let me go through a few of these notes that I wrote here. And let's see. Someone had mentioned, that I should look into basically cutting off the first page of my work because it seemed to them that the second page is where my real story started. And that person's not wrong. Like a lot of the actual story, we get a lot of information in the first page, but you know nothing. I relied on sounds to not confuse the reader per se, but to slow down the events. We hear the rattling of chains because my person is incarcerated and they're on their way to court. You hear some handcuff noises as they're being locked up and being prepped for transport. And I wanted that because, actually, I know I'm all over the place right now. One other point that somebody added, and I will link these two thoughts real quick. People from the very beginning said it reads like a screenplay. And it was like disheartening because I didn't want to jump in the chat room and be like, "Oh, I wrote this. Hey guys," because it was like kind of negative from the beginning. Like reads like a screenplay, uninterested, don't know what's going on, too slow, whatever. Um, which is rough because everything in that first page is very intentional. The being slow, deliberately slow, relying on sound rather than showing exactly what's going on. You're only hearing things in the very opening lines. And I will say, when I copy and pasted from my tablet into the Reedsy application form, it didn't transfer my italics or any italicized words for that matter. So you will see that, or well, I guess you won't see, but I should point out that the sounds that I have for specificity's sake is I will italicize certain sounds because I want that extra moment where they like almost the reader can hear it or even pays an extra little bit of attention to that. So someone had even commented like they liked the word snick, and you'll see my cat in the background. Hi, Cleo. Good timing. I just created some sounds too. Like again, it was italic, so it's supposed to be that sh sound. Let's see here, guys. Big thing, and I agree. This wasn't even just specifically Tom, but a lot of people said that I shouldn't reveal the main character's name or identity so soon. And I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm not very comfortable with writing introductions. I have an idea to write or a story idea or what have you. It could even be one line of dialogue, and let's explore that. But I do have a rough time getting on my feet, getting that beginning, getting that opening. And I'm very comfortable with dialogue. I feel very comfortable once I get into a scene and working within that. So this was, for me, incredibly beneficial too, just because, I mean, we've all been there. We want to get our work out there. We want people to read what we have written and hopefully transition into a career where we can only focus on that. But it's very difficult to get people for free to not only read your work, but also to give you an honest opinion on that. So incredibly valuable information. And it was very funny, though. I will mention, I was in the comments for the first three stories that were read, and I believe mine was the most polarizing. It could be because of the screenplay format. It could be because, I don't know, maybe I was last and people are a little more jaded that their work wasn't chosen. But yeah, it was, most people couldn't figure out my tenses, my point of view, and that was rough to hear, dude. Because again, I didn't want to defend myself. I thought, well, maybe I'm trash. Maybe I'm like the worst writer in the world. Someone thankfully jumped in and let everyone else know that he's using an omnipresent voice as his narrator. And then it felt floaty to some people, which that again was intentional. I wanted, given my film background, that we're kind of hovering around the action for a little bit, but once we get into some really heavy scenes where it gets really intense, I want you basically sitting right there with that character or being a observer on the wall, if you will. And I feel like I've accomplished that. I have a lot of work to do, though. There are still absolutely rough patches. And damn, speaking of work, I was so sad because Tom was like, hey, once you get your prison transport bus, this is a scene in New York City that's taking place in 1960s. You finally get some movement into the scene, and you need to bring in more descriptions of New York. And I know, that's the worst thing because, like I said, my introductions are a little rough. I did a ton of research for this book, as I should. I didn't live through the 60s, guys. So it's as factually accurate and historically accurate as it can be, while still also giving it a fictional story. But I tried to go with lesser known facts too, because I wanted the reader not to just learn something, but it's those little facts that you would read on, say, like a Snapple cap or like even a popsicle stick, where you're like, huh, that's interesting. I tried to tuck some of those facts in there, kind of like a Dan Brown style, but not as heavy because I find sometimes he can have so much detail that I will get lost. Talk about the frescoes and the different designs of the buildings. I'm like, for my writing style, at least for this particular manuscript, I it does read like a screenplay intentionally. Scenes are very simply set. I wanted things to be a little punchy once we got into, say, like dialogue or action, to be a little more snappy. For me, it's a crime thriller, so it's the banter is closer to, say, like Reservoir Dogs in that regard, or any of those kind of crime movies where, because there is a I don't want to spoil anything, guys, but someone had asked why pick 1964, why pick the 60s. One, technological limitations. I feel currently it would be either very difficult to write a crime thriller because of the amount of technology, like cameras, artificial intelligence, the amount of things that they have in place. Most crimes, are quickly solved. Some get away, but you would have to have the details then of how that got by everybody. And I think it's becoming even more difficult to write as we get more technology, because the world that we live in now, I don't know, we're almost unrestricted in a sense. So it does help to go back to a time where cell phones weren't invented, guys. There's no internet. I had to do a lot of interesting like factoid reading because I didn't know, for example, that wiretaps were completely legal before then and were something that could be done. I didn't know that answering machines were a thing, or the answer phone. So I did have to make everything fit, and I had a great time doing a lot of that. But it was a point that Tom weirdly brought up. He's like, you can have too much detail, and you can miss other things because of that. So, I mean, there's a great chance that I focus too heavily on all the flavor text, and I need to go back and really solidify some other things here. I love that he said don't reveal Thomas too early. That was something I kind of shot myself in the foot. I feel bad because I had basically two reveals. I mentioned Thomas right at the beginning, and then on the next page, maybe halfway through, I kind of mentioned him again. So that was a mistake on my side there, guys. The guards are very deliberate. I focused more on description as far as what they are doing, and then somebody mentioned this there because everyone's like, "Oh, Thomas H. Wells is my main character, and he's being indicted on murder charges, being brought to court." I did tuck in the line that, this isn't his first rodeo. This isn't his first indictment. This isn't his first time being to court. So people were trying to figure out, like, is he guilty? Is he not guilty? And Tom even had mentioned when my character tries to bribe the guards there, his expression, my character's expression, rather than going to more jovial or charismatic and trying to, like, hey, work with me. Can we, maybe cut a deal or something? Thomas goes very cold and kind of hardens his expression and is like looking at each guy like, what do you say to $10,000 then? And obviously we can't ever talk back and forth, so I wasn't able to tell Tom, like, that was a deliberate choice. Thomas is a cold, calculated, cunning individual, and he's actually started charismatic because he was like, gentlemen, I say gentlemen, what say you to helping me out here? I'm just trying to, get a change of clothes before I go to my court hearing. Clearly an ask that is beyond something that an inmate could ever ask for, right? And that's why he's starting nice, because it's such a strange question to ask. But he's even like known, like this character is already known. Someone asked why now? Why are we starting here? We're starting at the end. This is basically the beginning of what could be the end for this character. He is an incredibly prominent figure who has, up until now, been able to escape the law or kind of wiggle away from, or maybe go, just figure some way to not be held accountable for his actions. Now we're to a point where he's back in jail once again, and he's kind of just uninterested. He's wondering why the proceedings haven't been sped up and why he's even still in here. So his expression hardens because he's done. He's over it. I know it's a very minute point, but it is something throughout the manuscript that you would find if you were able to read the entire thing. Thomas H. Wells isn't just a mystery to the reader. He is a mystery to a lot of the people around him, including the people that work just beneath him. He is the owner and operator of the New York Inkwell, one of the most prominent newspaper publishing houses in New York City. And the strange thing is, a lot of people don't know where it came from, how it was funded, how it came to be. It's one of those things that just kind of sprang up during the years between 1942 and 1945 when World War II was going on. So a lot of things that went on back home, were, you could get away with a couple things. The country was a little more distracted with, a global crisis. So on the home front, questions weren't asked as often. And I do explain how he was able to get away with certain things, but that's the story. You have to actually read the manuscript of the book to find out who this man is, where he came from, how he came to be, and is this indictment, this thing that's going on in the very beginning of the book, is this Thomas's biggest problem, or is this just the beginning of a lot of problems? And I won't spoil anything anymore from there, guys. Hopefully I can get Inkwell published one day, and you guys can all give it a read. That is currently where I'm at. Obviously, I have to do another round of edits here. I have to get my introduction as strong as humanly possible, because somebody had asked if I was going to publish through Amazon. I don't really want to go that route, at least not the first time. I don't know. I'm in the middle somewhere, guys, because I've heard so many people that have found some success through Amazon and they have recommended it to me. But more often than not, those people are not traditional writers, if that makes sense. And they're usually like a one-off. They've published their book. They said, now they're a writer and they've been published. But I haven't really seen many other works coming from them. And so personally, that isn't where I want to go first. I would like to go the more traditional route. I have to obviously clean this up, polish this up, and then I would hopefully find an editor, probably through Reedsy.com, guys. I just got to gather a little bit of money and also reach out to some people on your platform and just see, hey, maybe you're in the market for a manuscript that kind of reads like a screenplay that has hopefully a lot of potential. So that is where I'm going to go, guys. I'm going to work on the editing process, work on getting an editor myself, and then also hopefully getting an agent and going from there. I just wanted to let everyone know you'll still keep seeing me pop up every once in a while in the writing contests. Haven't won any of those yet, but I feel like it's a great tool to honing your craft. And none of those other ones, it's funny, if you look under my profile, those other short stories, they're not written in like a screenplay format. You will see it as more straightforward, I don't know, more genre specific. This first manuscript, it was kind of more experimental. Like I hate to say for myself, like if I wrote for other people, I could probably be a little more successful. But I was right to entertain myself first, and then I hope to God other people will also find value or entertainment in what I've worked in, which may or may not be the best approach, but I'm still working on it. So anyway, guys, Thank you so much to anyone who even bothered to watch even a little bit of this. I encourage you to continue as a writer, as a creator, as an artist, to keep working, keep doing your thing. And who knows, maybe I can work with one of you guys one day. Talk to you later, I guess. Take care.